Hi everyone, how's it going? Yes, we are still talking about Aptera and the things that they're doing to make sure that you get your Aptera in your hands. And so we're talking to Steve. He's still on the podcast on where we go next, and he's actually talking about some very interesting things about uh, bringing in a different revenue stream. So let's talk about that. All right, welcome back to my channel. It's good to have you here. Yes, Aptera is doing some things. They are not going to totally rely on U.S. capital to bring in funds. They're actually bringing in funds through a different revenue stream. And so let's listen to this video or this podcast where Steve Fambro is actually talking about that.
In an update posted to Aptera's YouTube channel on June 26th, you said, quote, Aptera Solar is applicable not just to our vehicles, but it can be applied to many other industries. By expanding our solar revenue early on, we hope to make a bigger impact on the world and also get revenue positive sooner in order to scale the production of our solar EV, end quote. So what is distinctive about Aptera's solar technology and its IP that differentiates it from existing solar panel solutions available today? Is it just that lightweight combined with durability aspect? What is appealing to a third party where they would go to Aptera and say, we want to use your solar technology rather than someone else's?
A two-part answer. The first part is I'm not sure there is a competitive panel technology out there. Maybe there is and we don't know about it, but I don't believe there is. But that aside, even if there were, we have also intellectual property and a team that is experienced in integrating this solar technology into automotive high voltage systems. That means interfacing with the CAN bus, interfacing with the high voltage electronics, implementing all of the safety features, understanding the charge logic of how it interfaces with the battery and when it charges and when it doesn't, and all of those kinds of things. Buying panels and putting them on something is only part of the solution. That energy has to get back into the high voltage battery and efficiently. There's all kinds of ways that it could be done where at the end of the day, you would have 15 miles or so range, for example, just because of the inefficiencies and how the off-the-shelf equipment or the mismatched equipment would be able to handle those conversions. But because we've designed for that from the beginning, we've got an architecture that gives us that high efficiency conversion and CAN bus interface communications anywhere from, I'd say, 50 volts up to 400. So our system is flexible within those ranges. And there's a lot of applications out there in that region, right? Again, those electronics, they're all automotive grade, rated for all of those conditions. Many of those same kind of components that people might use are things that are designed for fixed application, not designed for vibration and shaking around, that kind of thing.
The appeal of additional revenue to achieve positive cash flow, I mean, it's obvious hearing it, right? But is there any concern that it may divert attention or resources away from Aptera's core mission of the last 5 years, which is getting the Aptera to production? How do you balance that, especially with such a small team, where every employee's hours are valuable and focus is especially critical?
Hardly any risk, I would say, has zero chance of happening, right? There's always a risk of those unintended consequences. I would say we have worked very diligently to make sure that the tail isn't wagging the dog, in that these projects are funded or will be funded by other means. In some cases, let's say it could be working with the CEC, who has a vested interest in doing solar manufacturing here in California. So I think we work very hard to make sure that the team and the other folks involved aren't a distraction to the core mission. I don't want to get into too many details about that because, all of these different clients at the moment, with the exception of Polydrops, are confidential and I don't want to out them. But I would say my fiduciary is to the shareholders. And everything that we are doing, we're doing in a way that we believe will maximize the shareholder value. And if we can show that the company is more valuable, and if we can also offset some of our ongoing expenses with things that should be relatively easy within our means because we already have the production capacity. We already have some of the materials even. We have the expertise. And if we can begin operating some of those things earlier for other applications, we see it as a net positive.
I've been a fan of Aptera and its mission since its first iteration all the way back in the mid 2000s when it offered both a full electric and a hybrid option. Because the value proposition of the Aptera has always been crystal clear to me. The least expensive version of the vehicle on the website right now was $25,900. And that's with 250 miles of range, a distance that cars with much higher price tags sometimes still struggle to hit. A two-door hatchback, inexpensive daily driver that could potentially access the entire Tesla supercharger network, which I want to discuss with you in a bit. Talk about an easy sell for a lot of consumers. The value proposition for the Aptera is already very high if you completely remove the solar element. Was that ever something that you and the team considered, either prior to our conversation in 2022 or between then and now?
Maybe early on, we discussed it when we were thinking about levels of solar. Should it be an option at all? Should you have to opt in? Should you force the solar on the consumer because we're making every journey powered by the sun? I think we have been leading for the past couple of years of just going all in on solar because, yes, as you rightfully said, right, you talked about having the NACS plug and the supercharger access. For long distances, supercharger or any other high speed, high power charger is going to be essential. That's going to eclipse what can be done on a cross country trip, with what can be done with the solar on a day to day basis. Past month, I've driven Las Vegas 2 times with my electric vehicle and, I had to stop in Barstow and Baker and charge. And so an extra 40 miles, it might have helped. Maybe it would have delayed one of those charges or I would have felt more comfortable going further, but that's not where that shines. The solar is what basically frees people from the need to charge every day. Now, can the products evolve? Should they evolve? Absolutely. Maybe there is a great use case for a non-solar efficient Aptera out there, like you said, that just has the smallest battery pack and gets 250 miles range. It could be that that's the case. But when you think about, for example, the material science in batteries and charging, even if there was a magical battery out there today that could charge as fast as you could pump gasoline into a vehicle to go the same distance, right? I think it's a gallon every 10 seconds, something like that, or 30 miles every 10 seconds with 30 mile per gallon car. You'd still need the equivalent of a small nuclear power plant at the gas station to provide 1 to 2 megawatts of power charging each vehicle to charge them that fast. Now, that's just not going to happen. I don't think it's ever going to happen. So the only way out of this, I see, is with more and more efficiency and more solar. You mentioned plug-in hybrids, and they certainly blunt the long-distance travel as well, and they're still selling quite well. But from an all-in electric and solar perspective, I don't see fast charging. Even if the battery technology is there, the distributed infrastructure is not there. That amount of power can't be generated at scale. The good news is I don't think they'll have to because people won't be using those in the same way they are gas stations. Or people have to go to the gas station to fill up. But EV owners fill up at home overnight, every night. The home is their gas station. They only use a gas station when they go on long trips. So when I went recently, past 2 times I've been in Las Vegas, stayed 30 minutes. One time I slept in the car, I got a cat nap. The other time I think I walked and got a Diet Coke and some beef jerky and stretched. I'd go to the restroom. You have to do that anyway. So I think struggling to fill up an EV as fast as a gasoline vehicle, not only do I think it's not achievable from the infrastructure perspective, I don't think it's necessary because most people don't fuel up every day at a gas station equivalent. They fuel up at home with an EV. So does the Aptera. You don't have to plug it in.
So it sounds like Aptera is actually designing their solar panels for, they looked at several different problems that may come up, and they have actually designed their solar panels for a lot of different type of vehicles that can actually use them, such as the vehicles he's bringing out about how regular solar panels on a regular vehicle, the vibration of it could destroy the solar panels over a specific amount of time. what his solar team has actually done was actually took all that in consideration, and they designed it in a way to where those vibrations will not harm or fracture the solar panels that they're putting together for any type of company that they're going to do it with. They also bring out that the different type of companies that they're actually designing for, which we know that they could put their solar panels in the shape that the company that wants to use them in a particular way where they can get the maximum amount of use out of the solar panels. For instance, for their Aptera, we see that they've actually designed the solar panel to shape the vehicle where they can get the most amount of sun power out of their panels. So they could do that for other companies as well. And it sounds like they are not actually tied to land vehicles. I mean, they could actually use that for airplanes, drones, other type of vehicles, boats. So Aptera can use their solar panels in many different vehicle settings. I think that's very encouraging and upbuilding, knowing that they can bring in money from different sources by just their solar panel factory alone. So that is one way they can actually build the company up as well, not just a vehicle company, but also through the solar revenue stream. But anyway, what do you think about that? How do you feel about the direction that Aptera is going? It sounds like that is a good idea. Of course, nowadays you have to be a multifunctional company in order to succeed. And of course, you want to keep a lot of things in house, things that you could design yourself and put together, because that saves on having to rely on another company putting their product in your vehicle. And if they have a problem, then you have a problem. But if you design it yourself and you build it in house, you can work around specific problems that you're having. Also, he's bringing out how the funds that they're going to use for the solar panels, for instance, for other companies, is not going to take money away from the Aptera vehicle that they want to produce and put on the road. So they're basically just going to use that as bringing money into the company, which makes a lot of sense, because if they're not going to make money at it, then they don't need to do it. They just need to stay away from it. But as long as they're bringing money in, which it sounds like they've already started, I mean, they're already making funds from Polydrop and Everest. So those are two companies that we know of. But he brought out that there are other companies that he didn't mention. And so it sounds like they're getting involved already with several companies to go ahead and start bringing money into the company. But it sounds like that's a good idea, and that hopefully all that's going to work out properly. And they'll go ahead and get the Aptera out and get investors involved in seeing how they're already producing those vehicles to get on the road. And so, once again, what do you think about that? How do you feel about what Aptera is doing? It sounds like they're doing a lot of different things here, and it sounds like it's going to work out in the long run, where they're bringing in a good bit of money from different sources. But it sounds like a good idea. Hopefully, all that'll work out. We will see. But for me, I personally just want to see the Aptera come out. I just want to see the vehicle succeed, so that they can go ahead and get it out on the road. And then we know investors will want to jump on the bandwagon then once they start traveling to different cities and showing that vehicle on the road. But anyway, we're going to end it here. The video's getting too long, so I'm going to give a shout out to my patrons. Thank you very much, you guys. Y'all take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. And if you're new here, hit the like, ring the bell, subscribe. So we'll catch you in the next video. Y'all have a good one. Adios. Bye-bye.